Want to know who we are? Let's start here. We do this, that, and we make all of these. We're here to connect and power just about everything around you. We help you save energy. We're not trying to save the world, but we are making the most of our energy and resources and making access to energy and digital basic human rights. Life is on.
Why is security a problem in industrial control now in 2020?
So great topic. I think one of the biggest threats that face industrial facilities today, especially when it comes to essential services like water, wastewater, water treatment plants, is the threat of cyber attacks. It's a growing trend. It's rapidly increasing. If we look at cyber bandits, if that's what we call them today, I think they're opportunists, and then we see a growing trend where they hack into control systems and they lock out either a water treatment plant or they will lock out an essential service, and then they hold either the municipality or the customer ransom for X amount of dollars before they can open it up again. So I think cybersecurity is it's definitely something that I don't see people taking seriously enough. I think there's this lackadaisical thought process that, it's not going to happen to me, or I'm in an industrial sector, no one's going to come and touch my little factory. But the reality is, once you get locked down and you're locked out of your production facility, no matter how big or how small, you could go days, weeks, before you can open it up. And what it could mean is, as opposed to paying maybe 10, 20, $50,000 cybersecurity analysis or software point, you'd now have to pay $1 million to either get someone to come in and upgrade your line because all your hardware is now useless because it's just been hacked. Your line's down, your production's down. So I see this becoming a threat. But I think what's a bigger threat is that I do not see consumers taking cyber security or cyber attacks seriously enough. I think that is adding to the strength that cyber bandits have. And I really think we need to start thinking about what does this mean, and what does it mean to our plant, and what does it mean to our customers, that if I were to get locked out of my plant today, what would that cost me? And is that cost greater or less than what it would be for me to actually invest in having a good cybersecurity plan?
Okay. Christian, I'm going to move to you. If you have anything that you want to mention about cybersecurity.
Yes, unfortunately, I'm really behind you, Sanjit. Unfortunately, the majority of incidents are kept undisclosed. So yeah. Personally, I heard maybe 4 incidents, on my job sites, and one of them stopped production for 3 days on 6 sites. Seriously. Another one caused the whole company to stop function maybe 2-3 weeks. From customer service to production floor, going through financials. And this around the world. It's not a small thing. But the problem is that all those incidents, of course, were kept as secret as possible to avoid damaging the image of the company. So in the end, it causes other customers to have a distorted picture of the real situation or a potential threat. So they don't assess the risk as they should be, but it really is. And if you ask those customers that lost production, I'm telling you, it's a major crisis. So again, people don't know the tip of the iceberg of those threats.
Absolutely, and if I look at our business inside of Schneider Electric, it's such a big topic. It's such a threat globally that Schneider today has a division that looks after cybersecurity in terms of working with our customers and working with the infrastructure and putting in the necessary cybersecurity and assessments and cybersecurity measures to ensure that we protect our customers' data and their hardware.
And Christina, as well, we should be aware that human safety is also at risk here, right? Because when a system is attacked, we don't know how the process, we don't know the outcome of the process and what the whole production line is going to do. And so it can certainly present risk, to human life, depending on, who you are, where you are, and what the process is.
Hmm. Yeah, we're seeing some of that with OT devices, getting in there and making the machines move differently. I think that's what you're getting at, yeah?
Yep.
Yeah.
When we discuss, why is it a problem? I think we probably all kind of have some basic understanding of what the implications could be of not doing it, but how do we get ourselves here? And we were talking earlier about systems being I called it a set it and forget it situation. Put it in, let it go. We'll see things that are run sometimes decades. I can tell you a decade ago, the methods by which somebody was going to attack something were not known today, right, in terms of what they are today. And things change, and the landscape and security changes so quickly, and you have to be nimble to change. But you remember we talked earlier about what it takes to kind of get a system to upgrade? What's it going to take to be able to convince someone to spend the time to introduce the risk to their operations to upgrade? And I think what some of my colleagues have already identified here, a lot of people sit there and say, I don't know that I can balance that risk against availability until it hits them. And then they realize how important it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and by then it's usually a little too late. As a follow-up to that, what are some of the potential consequences if an industrial control system is hacked? Beyond, we talked about the OT piece, but what else can happen, Christian?
Well, that's a very good question and a very good follow-up on the previous question. Personally, I think all the consequences can all be categorized as one word: losses. As I said, the viruses have always been a pain on the office floor. They could create problems which had, of course, unfortunate consequences. And still, those consequences were limited to software damages. But as Vic mentioned, now when the virus spread to the production floor, it's totally different. The consequences are definitely unlimited. We're talking about direct physical implications. So we're talking about production stopped for, again, as we said, undetermined period, which can be very long. You will lose trust, between your customers, your suppliers, your contractors, and your employees. You will begin to lose trust. You definitely can lose intellectual property, but last but not the least, lives. If you're considering where ICS are used today, such as in nuclear power plant, water treatment, electricity, heavy lifting, and so on, of course, I think we can all grasp the potential danger of being hacked.
Sanjit, do you have anything you want to add to that piece?
Yeah, I think Christian and Vic covered it really well. But I think the one thing I would add is that one of the potential consequences, it could cause companies to close down. Depending on the size of the company, depending on the level of the cyber attack, if a company just doesn't have that, the bandwidth or the investment available now to get someone in and get this redone and to take them out of the crisis, it could have effects where you actually find companies would close their doors. So I really think it's something that I encourage manufacturers to really look at their plants, look at where their risk lies, and make a fair assessment. What does that mean from the plant perspective, but also what does it mean from your people perspective?
So, what are some of the areas that manufacturers should be mindful of when it comes to attacks? Are there common entry points, John, that you could maybe highlight people should be thinking about?
In recent publications documenting cases of cybersecurity issues with industrial control systems, it was indicated that 100% of the clients believed falsely that their systems were air-gapped. And a lot of times what happens is that they were just not aware of the risk that was posed to them. It's amazing when you sit there, but 100% of these cases, they think, well, wait a minute, I'm secure. My systems are air-gapped. And I can tell you from personal experience where someone's told me their systems are air-gapped and then show me later a remote desktop into the application. Like, well, how did you do? Wait a minute, what happened? And so I think the case here is first thing you have to do is be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself about understanding the topology, establishing that threat model. The threat model basically, first of all, goes through making sure you have a clear and documented topology of your system so that you understand what the attack vectors are. Because I think right now what happens is so often, and it was clearly identified in this response that I had read, we had the wrong impression of a security burn.
I think when you look at cybersecurity, there's various levels of entry and there's various levels of risk. I think what manufacturers really need to be mindful for, or the best practice is to bring in a company that's experienced in looking at your hardware, looking at your infrastructure, and looking at your ecosystem, and then giving you a true assessment. Because you find that if you try to do that on your own, and you try to do that at the technician or the operator or the plant, or even your IT department viewpoint, you're gonna look at it very subjectively. You might have tunnel vision, and you're not going to look at the broader picture. So sometimes, when it comes to certain topics, it's worth more to actually pay the money, bring in a professional that's seen the various levels of cyber attacks, and get a free assessment. And I think that way you cover your risks to some extent.